Welcome, everybody. We've got our guest. He's just said that he's got his coffee. He's good to go. He's ready. This one's going to be an absolute ripper. We got an amazing First Nations mug that just got lifted up with the coffee in it. Amazing First Nations artwork in the background. We've got with us today Uncle John Smith Gumbula.
How
That's
are you, son?
good. Thank you
That's
there,
right.
Uncle. Uncle
Yeah,
John Smith Gumbula with us today.
that's an Arnhem Land name, and I'll share a bit of that with you as we just want to acknowledge you and thanks so much for bringing me on your podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. And what I would love to do is give everyone this amazing quote. And I've chosen this quote because I think that it resembles some of what I feel we're going to be speaking out today. And the quote is, "Here in Australia, we're fortunate enough to have one of the richest and oldest continuing cultures in the world. This is something we should all be proud of and celebrate." These words spoken by Dr. Tom Calmer, the co-chair of Reconciliation Australia.
Powerful words. And I echo that too. These are very powerful words, and I think these discussions are important to go through and navigate through the importance of our journey here as First Nations in Australia. We all got a yarn, we all got a story, we all have a narrative, and I really appreciate us getting on this call today and sharing mine with you. So I look forward to sharing my journey. Where do we start? I mean, first, maybe just acknowledging all you mob down that way and the families and our elders. I think that's important. And those old people who come before us, we wouldn't be here today standing on those shoulders of those giants or those people who sacrificed their life within the journey of this country to have what we have today. And I just want to send blessings to those elders and the past and present and those who are on that journey of becoming, stepping into that space because it's a big space. There's a lot of activities. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of challenges. Be ready. Some days you'll have to put on your gloves. Some days you got to pick up your spear. But we get through that, and we end up sharing that love, sharing that journey, sharing that dreaming stories with our people. And I look forward to sharing a lot more with you today. So thank you so much, Matthew.
No, thank you as well, Uncle. I'm very much looking forward to being able to dive into some of the depths of your wisdom and things that we've spoken about before, and being able to get this messaging and this cultural wisdom that you're a part of for our listeners, First Nations listeners and non-First Nations listeners alike, to be able to appreciate, hear about, and utilize some of these things we're going to be speaking about to negotiate better life outcomes in places they live. Uncle, some people might be thinking, Uncle John Smith Gumbula, who is this particular uncle? I was wondering, can you share something that you're passionate about, and who are you?
So I'm a Wakka man. So I'll just take it back to the day. So I was born into a family, Aboriginal father, Irish and Scottish mother. So a lot of culture within our family and connections. Obviously, where I'm born out on Wakka country, it's my father's area. We grew up out there, young age, and went to school there for a little while. So we learned how to ride horses and shoot at 22, go fishing for jewfish. Occasional biff up there with the local boys, and that was the sort of thing growing up. But there was some beautiful memories there as a kid, growing up in that area. Mum come from a little town called Mount Morgan, which was a gold and copper mine town. And so most of the family worked in the mine at that time, sort of what was sustaining Mount Morgan. That's the Gungaloo mob. So we're sort of married into those families there. We've got a lot of connections around that area, but that was sort of my main sort of journey as a young fella. And I spent some time in the hospital at the age of 10, had a disease in my spine called Sherman's disease, which crippled me. And that's where my artistic career started from. Picked up the pencils and papers that was given to me by my auntie in the hospital, and I just started that's where my creative journey started from. So the arts has been a very powerful part of my life, and it's taken me around the world, connected with people everywhere. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a grandfather, and I continue that work. And it's about really identifying the relationships out there in the world and sort of navigating through that to accomplish those dreams and visions. At the same time, you can bring people on that journey. So that's what I'm all about, pretty much.
How did that period of your life feel, being in that moment, being in that time? What was it like for you?
Well, it was a difficult time. Obviously, at the age of 10, I was out just playing with my friends, and I was riding on a friend's bike. And then all of a sudden, I felt this incredible sharp pain in my spine, and I fell to the road. We didn't have bitumen roads back then, just all dirt roads. So I busted up all my arm and my leg and that. And I was laying there in pain, and they took me to the hospital. And after the doctors done all the tests on me, they said that I had a disease called Sherman's disease. Nobody really knows what it is. It's pretty rare thing. But stuff in your spine, something to do with your spine. Anyway, laying there in the hospital, I was all in cast, and it was a difficult time. So it was a time where I was thinking, am I ever going to walk again at that age? Obviously, and yeah. So that whole creative sort of element through that pain is what I can say just from my own personal experience. And I knew there was something much more within my life, even at that young age. I knew there was something going to happen in the future, just like I just felt it. And then fast forward, all these decades later, I become a multi-awardee, and the art and design has allowed me to navigate through life, even through some of the really difficult parts of my life. The art has always been there for me, and culture.
I think that story is also an example of sheer resilience and a great example of turning the negative into the positive. And so I think that that's a great sentiment, great sharing and experience other people can look at and listen to as well. Because if we experience something that's very difficult in our life, if we can look for that positive light for you as a creative journey, then there can be some good things that can happen at the end of the dark tunnel.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm living proof of that. And it's I truly believe that every one of us are born in the world for a purpose. I don't believe we don't choose our families, but we're born in this world. We're part of billions of people population, but I think there's a reason all of us are here, and you get to sort of understand that as no matter what background you go through in life, how difficult it is, or whether you come from privilege or you come from a very poor family, whatever, there's a purpose, there's a reason for that. I just look at the bigger sort of philosophical view of that, of life, and the spiritual part of that also. And I think I was meant to go through that pain. I was meant to go on that journey and become an artist and a designer, and that's allowed me to sort of grow and travel the world and meet other cultures and experience life. That's another part of the discussion here. I've had quite an amazing walkabout, an amazing journey globally that have connected me with people. And the art's been an amazing way to communicate. You don't have to have the most fanciest degrees academically. You're going to learn a lot of stuff in life. If your heart and your spirit's open to that, you're going to learn many things on your journey. And that's what I done. That was my experiences. The art and design and culture allowed me to communicate and create those bridges, those cultural bridges, which is what my philosophy is around that. And it's just connected me with people around the world. And that's the power of culture. That's the power of the arts. How you harness that, how do you utilize that, and how do you get to understand that as you get older, obviously, and the wisdom comes with that, and the knowledge comes with that, and the people you connect with. And it's such an amazing experience. I think it's just connecting with people all over the world in the journey. And I've shared my culture, Indigenous culture and art and design and stuff globally. So I think that was an important part of the work that I do. I still do that. Just there's different tools. We have different tools today. We never had social media. We had these podcasts back then. Sort of on the streets, knocking on the doors, walking around in the hot sun, paintings on the arm, trying to make a few bucks. It wasn't an easy time. But like you said, saying if there's something that you're meant to do, you'll find a way to survive. And the art and culture it's within our DNA. So I think that's the blessing right there.
It's pretty amazing and impactful that you've been able to go overseas with your art and bringing First Nations culture, in which you're from here in Australia and in your lands, to the presence and insight to those people that are overseas. Do you have any moment or any particular story that stands out in your own heart, in your own mind, from your time overseas, from back when you were carrying the art under your arm, and any story about how you were able to positively impact?
Absolutely. I have too many stories. Way too many stories, I think.
I'd love to hear one or two of them.
Just think a time that I was in Switzerland.
Yes.
So I had quite a few exhibitions, in the States and in Canada and Europe, France, been involved in little exhibition stuff in France and Switzerland and so forth. But I remember when I was in Switzerland at a place called Montreux. It's in the Swiss French part of Switzerland. And in fact, around June, July every year, they have festivals in Switzerland, lots of festivals. That's the best time. It's the summertime. And a lot of the wealthy people come in from the Middle East and they hang out there. They invest a lot, and in Switzerland, in fact. And it's more cooler because the Middle East is super hot in summertime. So they spend their time there and they go back for the Ramadan, the holy month. But I was fortunate to have people there, some families. And at the time, I was just painting along the lakes as the Montreux Jazz Festival was on. And, I lost Santana come up and purchase some artwork off me, and BB King was alive at the time. I met BB King, some of his band members. You just get to meet amazing people, Jamiroquai, and then from the Middle East rocked up, and they're from a wealthy sort of royal family, and they bought all this artwork off me, invited me to Dubai, and they said, "You want to come to Dubai?" I said, "Where's Dubai?" I didn't know. No one really knew where Dubai was at that time. Not like today. It's it's one of the biggest things in the world, the country of Dubai. But I mean, at that time, I was Didge also. So the guy I met wanted me to go back to Dubai with him and teach him to play the Didge, and I was doing painting and all this stuff. So that was my amazing journey, was, going from the Middle East and with this family, very wealthy family, connections of the, cousins of the, and I was like bloody, Lawrence of Arabia, was painting and doing these things there. But yeah, it was just an amazing experience meeting these people up in Dubai, painting at their place, connecting with the Emirati people of that of that region. An amazing experience. They took a trip to Egypt where they're riding horses near the Giza pyramids, just meeting people there. So they do a lot of traveling, these guys, and just experience, just culturally amazing thing. I was able in all the big stuff. So it's quite a sort of feeling being there around this, being immersed in this wealth, but that's not what I was there for. I was just there as a friend, doing some artwork and hanging out with these guys and experiencing the culture. That's what I was there for, wasn't there, but such an experience, again in the desert and driving around in Ferraris and Porsches during the week, There's sort of a lifestyle there at that time, still is today. But, I think life is for a reason. The people you meet with, connect with, doesn't matter, what wouldn't be life that I would want, but it's just an experience. And that's what comes back to you as what do you want in your journey of life? What's in your heart, and these are going to generate, different thought. But I think culture is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of stuff when I was there over in that part of the world. So that was a blessing. And I just bring that back home here so I can apply that to, help and see. So that's where I see the bigger picture for one, it was me there as an artist, and to learn all those things to come back home. So
thank you for sharing the story, Uncle. And as you did share, and you also shared about the experience of connecting with BB King and Carlos Santana, I've got this powerful image in my mind's eye of you playing the Yidaki alongside Carlos Santana on the guitar.
yeah,
I mean, how it been?
I did.
Who's that?
I'm not showing off. I played at a private function for Alicia Keys.
Oh, yeah?
So I got on stage. They got a friend of mine. It's the one of the children of the late Aretha Franklin.
Uh-huh.
And he took a gig there to meet a friend of his, and Teddy Richards, his name is. And he said, "Come and meet a friend of mine later." I said, "Yeah, sure." And I had Didge with me and introduced me to this a little bit shorter than me. Hair was all plaited back. I had my friend Alicia. I didn't know who Alicia was, but I mean, she's a global superstar right now,
Yeah.
singer. But back then, I didn't know. I was just there, people just playing the DJ painting. But I had a little gig there in a private venue there with her, so that was my bit of fame there, I suppose, at that time. But you just get to meet. I mean, this is the thing about art and design, and like where is you on the journey? It was just me experiencing life and connection with people, and the art and design and the culture and the playing the users part of that. Just connecting people. And it just sort of breaks down all those barriers. Like, I did mobile phones and sending emails out to people to communicate. It just connected and just happened, right? So that's how life is. I truly believe that, you're meant to people, you meet people on your journey, and sometimes can be comfortable, can be something beautiful, but that's just the journey of life, and you just got to experience it. You got to go through it to get to where you're going to go and understand who you are and where you're heading. So that was my, experiences. You meet interesting people there in Switzerland, like that. So yeah, it was a great experience,
Yeah, and very inspiring as well in terms of the work that you would have done in that period and that you have done and you continue to do, because there's a lot of sad history about eliminating cultural principles from First Nations communities, and to have yourself, and there's some other amazing people as well who represent our culture as different cultures as First Nations peoples from different clans and different mobs, but representing cultures overseas and keeping it alive in those ways. And to be able to do this using the power of the Yidaki, as Yidaki are pronounced, as part of this journey is absolutely inspiring. The Yidaki is a amazing instrument. What does the mean to you in terms of its connection with life?
Well, that's a really good question. And when I first was taught to play the Yidaki was through the Arnhem Land region. So the Yolngu people. So we were adopted into, I was, very fortunate to have known most of the late David Gulpilil. So I'd been actions in Arnhem Land. So I go back to the days when Youth Yindi was sort of just heading off around the world and they're doing big tours. And one of my relatives on my dad's side was married into the family up there to a couple of one of the late Yolngu family members. And I just be on a walkabout at that time, just for art mural with my father and family there in Rockhampton along the lake on the river of the Turrbal Fitzroy River. And that artwork is there to this day. And what happened was I bumped into some Arnhem Land at the time who were traveling through there. And just happened to be the lead dancer was David Gulpilil. That's where it all started, the connection. That was the first Yolngu that I met, full-blood traditional, Yolngu man was David and his group. And we always stayed in touch over the many years. And then when they adopted me, took me up that way, I traveled out throughout Arnhem Land and Rumingining and Billingimbi and all that homeland country. And, and that mob there from the Yitakala mob there, Gove, and I was really much immersed in this incredible atmosphere. At that time, there was, only radio, there was no mobile phones, no internet, no nothing back then when I was up. Yeah. And it was an incredible experience, connecting with those families. And and I was with them for many, many years. This is around the time Youth the Indie, was one of the famous and recognized Indigenous bands in Australia globally with a global sort of recognition and traveling the world and promoting culture and language, traditional, that fusion of that pop sort of very distinct really had, right? When you hear Youth the Indie song, exactly.
It's Youth the Indie.
I was up when it was all happening, and a lot of those guys, the band members, some of them I still stay in touch with. Some of the original dancers, Witiana, Marika, and Manganjay, they're still around, the original dancers up there. Obviously, the keyboard player passed away some time back, Gurang, and so all these guys hanging out with at the time. George Runambu from Murrumbidgee Band. He came from Alco Island, Galawinku. That's the family that adopted me. So I was around all these fellas, Such an amazing experience. But that Yediki, so Arakunawawa, so I'm speaking in Yulungu. So there's so many different clan and language in that area. Yulungu, that Yulungu Arnhem Land region is very powerful Yulungu connections. And that's where Yidaki. The Yidaki, to me, is a very ancient, I would say probably one of the most ancient wind instruments in the world, the planet. And so it connects you to country, Mother Earth, and the style of the Yidaki, the way that they actually play it is a very distinct traditional rhythm of their, part of their Uncle John, part of their corroboree. And that I was immersed in that for many years. And that's where I was just fell in love and was hypnotized by the Yidaki, because one of my brothers, the big brothers that passed away now, he's the one who actually taught me how to play Yidaki. And I've actually written I have a little story. I have a story that I've actually written that I want to publish one day. It's about when I played my first Yidaki, making my first Yidaki. And playing my first Yidaki was with my late brother, Arnhem Land brother from Galawinku. So, it is an ancient instrument. It is played by ceremonial purposes for man. It's a man's instrument. It's not a woman's instrument, which sadly what's happened today is commercially a lot of our traditional elements, a lot of our narratives, a lot of that is taken into that non-Indigenous ideology of monetization. And sadly, the Yidaki today is it's been commercialized, and not just men are playing it, women are playing it too, but the true element of that is actually sacred. It's a sacred instrument used in ceremony, and not all Indigenous people in Australia, not all First Nations people in Australia have a Yidaki. Actually, it's adopted in many parts of Australia. They don't have didgeridoo or yidaki. It's actually been adopted.
Mm.
So it's like the boomerang. Not all people think Aboriginal people throw a boomerang. All Aboriginal people play a didgeridoo. It's not the case. It's only various certain areas of the country where they have those connections with those elements, right? And the yidaki is the Arnhem Land is the that one. So it's a very sacred one, and it's something that I'll have within me, within my heart through those experiences. And it's disappointing sometimes you see other places where they, it's just fully commercialized. The energy of that, the love of that's not really there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's sad. As an uncle, as a grandfather, when I see it through that lens, yeah, it's sad because they don't really understand what they're doing. It's just all about the money. And that
Yes.
makes a discussion.
Absolutely. And another example of this is when you walk into some tourist stores, it might be sort of, maybe it's one of the peak tourist places in Australia or in the capital cities or something like that. And I've walked into some of those tourist shops of the past and seen, artificial based stores where overseas tourists are likely to walk inside and gain an impression and commercial size of what's purported to be the instrument, but isn't. And the commercial drive for those sort of shop owners to deteriorate the meaning of such a beautiful instrument and the culture to which it represents with it. So, yeah, I feel like in my experience, just, a tiny bit of your experience, Uncle, but the connection that I've been able to feel in my tiny experience with it, Yidaki, is it goes beyond just the sound or beyond just music. It's the connection of a life force, and the representation as part of that is, comes from wood being one of the fundamental elements in which we're gifted with in our lands. And also the life connection. One of the first things we ever do, or the first thing we ever do when we're born, is take a breath. And I think it's the last thing that we do when we pass is take a breath. So the connection of that life cycle with the instrument, I think, is a beautiful piece as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that mentioned with that taking of that breath and last breath, I mean, from Arnhem Land, when the year played, there's certain rhythm, a certain frequency that's actually presented within that ceremony,
Yeah. And negotiations podcast being about allowing people to get insights and skill sets in terms of helping them with their own negotiations. I can imagine there'd be some people thinking right now, yeah, cool, amazing hearing about Yidaki, but how does this relate in any way to negotiations?
Well, I
And
think
yeah, how, Uncle, how do they relate to negotiations? Or how does it?
well, negotiations is a very broad. There's so many different forms of negotiations, eh?
Yeah.
So that down, we're talking about negotiations within the commercial sense or from a cultural connections. Any negotiations, right? And that comes back to what that intent is. What is that intention? I think the very first thing people should understand is the intention. Negotiation on culture is not something that's been created through Indigenous peoples. So negotiation is obviously a non-Indigenous interpretation, right? When looking at law, or in this case, within your law, how those things are, negotiations of that. Whereas Indigenous understanding, I think it's a whole totally different. It's a very foreign thing. Yet, Indigenous community over many centuries have been probably negotiating through cultural connections on country, right? Not in that hierarchy or that corporate sense, but definitely engaging of negotiation. And sadly, what's happened, I think, Matthew, just from perspective, how I see it today is because of the sensitivities, because of the value, looking at it from a commercial aspect, Indigenous art and design and the yidaki and didgeridoo and boomerangs and all these things that are very popular in the market have a value on it. Somebody's stamped a value on that or commercialized that. That's where the begins from a commercial aspect, because they want to get it sacred object or this art, whatever there may be, or whatever price, for their own gain. Whereas, as you know, people weren't out wasn't artifacts, or in this case, yidikis. Or I think that's a very important discussion because those cultural can take us back to that roots of that old people. This is something handed down through generations and thousands of years, right?
Mm.
So I think saying that it's wrong for anybody to negotiate to make some. I mean, what's the long term intent of that? What's the outcome of that within your heart, within your spirit? Are you just purely driven by that negotiation of monetary value? Is it something more culturally or something more social for community, more of a social venture or whatever? So it just comes down to the individual, I believe, just my experiences, what I've been going through over my many decades in the art. And I've done a lot of negotiation. Sometimes I've made the wrong negotiation when I was younger and I got ripped off, ripped off as an example, just sharing with the viewers, people who are listening. So it's a very important thing, I think. Do your homework. Just do your homework and just what's in your heart. And I think a lot of the younger generation of artists or musicians or artists in general still have a very long way to go in terms of understanding that wisdom around the association of that cultural element that's to them, when they get commercial aspect. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it makes me very enthusiastic to be able to ask you this question now as well, Uncle, because in one of our recent chats, you explained to me something that you call your moral compass as a way for navigating life. And I feel like what you've just shared is a great segue into the moral compass. And our listeners could benefit deeply by hearing about your wisdom in this. So can you explain what is your moral compass all about? And how does it help you in terms of navigating and negotiating through life?
Well, I think it's a very thing. For one, I can explain it, and I think there's many different elements to it. There's many different ways that I could explain it, and it just comes down purely to you as a human, as an individual on your journey of life. How you see through your optics, through your view, and how you walk. Are you walking on this, treads Mother Earth, on your journey? It comes down to be driving you every day. What's in your life? See, remember, we're just human beings, so there's many things that are affecting us every single day of our journey. Whether it's in business or community or you within yourself trying to accomplish, you have this vision or a dream, something that you want to accomplish within your life, but sometimes it feels like, why isn't this working? Why isn't it going the way that I want to? With what I'm feeling in my heart, what I'm feeling in my spirit. And so I think sort of journey, that connection, that journey is big to play with the people around you within your life.
Yes.
Your community, your family. Over the many years, like, you're never going to come, as an artist. People are going to tell you stuff. Oh, you're never going to make no money being an artist. You're never going to make a career. So it's about, how do you dish that out? If you believe something in your heart and spirit, it doesn't matter what anybody says, you're going to try and do the best you can. And that's passion, So looking at that, your moral compass. And I think along that journey, there's going to be a lot of navigation in life. And it's like, that'll come down to really defining who you are, that journey. And I think for me personally was having that whole of the journey of life of traveling, having international experiences, not stuff that I've learned in the school. The university, or my university, was the world. My school was the world and the community and the people that I connected with. So, always being that, and that's where your moral comes into play, and how you do that is really because it's like what Dad used to say, a pop, be careful because you can't grab it and put it back in your mouth. An example. And that's just actions in general, right? You do something, it's like, oh crap, why did I do that? And it's like, I can't, I've done it, so now I've got to deal with it. And whether you're or not, the thing is that your morals and your ethics and your values and your law. Remember, you're the boss of your own journey, is how I see it. So you can be changed, you can be inspired. It depends on what's in your heart and how you let that come into your life. And the art and design was a way of communicating for me and creating the relationships and those bridges and learning through that and growing, not putting up firewalls, not saying they know everything, because you don't. Not everybody doesn't know everything. Even the most popular people with the highest degrees and the highest IQs, it doesn't mean anything. We don't know everything in life. That's the thing. Every single day of life is keep your heart always open on that way, and that's where you'll understand. That's how you're to navigate through that sort of like a long-winded sort of explanation. But I think that's really important.
What about? I mean, it's speak about the moral compass, because in the integrity of what you speak, it is such a powerful guiding principle in people understanding how to live their life, how to make their decisions. And in your own story, where you've shared a little bit about in terms of to go overseas and the education that that's also brought you and our journey. I think is pretty powerful as an example. And you also speak about trusting your heart. And that makes a lot of sense because through your heart comes love. And there's different spiritual texts that speak about love being the all-encompassing. If we can get in touch with love, there is the answer. There is the purpose. There is the destination. Sometimes when you hear these kinds of words, right? And
Mm.
you feel like, okay, great, that sounds fantastic. But in the hustle and bustle of life, in the depth and difficulty of what life can bring, how can we remember to, first of all, trust our heart, be in that place of love? And how can we remember to navigate through the moral compass when times are really getting tough for us?
Well, they're really good questions. And the thing is that it's like taking that deep breath and pausing, I think.
Mm,
Just really being aware of your surrounding and what's going on with your life. Because obviously every one of us in the world, we have a genuine story, right?
mm,
And we're dealing with on a daily basis, So life isn't meant to be easy. Everyone out there probably heard this before. Life isn't meant to be easy. It isn't. We all have a dreaming. What Dad used to say, you got a path, son. You're going to go on your dreaming path and you can experience all these things in life, and that's how life is. You have no control over that, but you have control over who you are and where you're heading in your life to a certain extent. We have our own guidance on that, and everything else is either by how can I say it's meant to be, and those experiences you deal with that. It is a thing, right? And
mm,
of those connections and how we deal with that, it comes down to um, that knowledge or the experience or that wisdom that you obtain within that journey of life, and then you sort of apply that to your experiences and deal with that. But I think we all have a way of somehow dealing with certain things. Some can deal with things more easier than others, but I think it just comes down to that understanding of life and just being respectful and showing that love and respect to people around you, and just guiding through that, and connecting, finding kindred spirits is another
mm,
one. You probably heard
mm.
that. Just trying to find those people that can move with you and understand with you. Journey. I think that's important. Because not about your stuff. They're going to have a different thought process or a different philosophy or a different law. And when I say law, we have our own law within ourselves. We have our own morals and ethics and values, right? And
Mm.
those laws are things that we apply to our life. So, it is a challenge. Life isn't meant to be easy. You just have to deal with things. And I've always found through the arts and music and you probably heard it before, a lot of listeners out there, just disconnect. Sometimes you need to disconnect. Too much stuff going on in your life, too much information. There's only so much your mind can handle, you know, whether it's a job or dealing with stuff just at home, with family or people around you, friends, family, people that you love, a work environment. Um, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on out there in the world. I think sometimes people can't handle certain situations, but for me, it was about just sort of connecting, you know, with I used to go about
Mm.
just connect people around that space and just doing my art and music, and we all got our own sort of balance within that. I'm not a guru or these things, but just talking from my own experiences, I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to you being the change, you understanding how you move through that, how you
Mm.
deal with that. What will make you stronger? That's some old different saying, many different sayings. But if you're meant to do something in your life and you feel that in your heart every day, you're going to find a way to survive. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a hustle. You just got to hustle, not in a bad way. Just need to hustle in life and do what you need to do to get where you want to go. And
Yeah.
it's
I think that you've raised the beautiful, wise paradox as well, because you ended the wisdom in your response by saying that you need to hustle. And I think that the paradox is beautiful because you also mentioned disconnecting, going out on country, being out bush, being able to take a break, and so much insight and wisdom you shared, and then if you need to hustle. And I feel like some of the great wisdom in which you shared is the fact that sometimes people focus too much on the hustle piece and not enough on the need to disconnect. And if we focus too much on the hustle piece, this is a lot where the massive percentage of people who suffer from anxiety stem from. And a lot of feeling that people get these days of, oh, there's not enough today. There's a lot of anxiety. They have to be at 50 places at once, have to pick the kids up from school and cook dinner and run a business at the same time. There's so much stress that people experience. And sometimes it's not about the amount of minutes or seconds or hours in a day, but rather it's about the ability to allow spiritual flow through you. And if we can do this, then we can multiply the efficiency of our life. And to make this happen, like you spoke, Uncle, disconnecting and being in a spiritual practice, being on country, connecting with nature, those sorts of things can be so powerful. And this is also a great example where the Yiddish come into as well, the power and connection that brings.
Yeah.
But this level of flow impacting then all areas of our life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And remember, we're just humans, eh? We're not robots. We feel every day, we go through emotions. We lose people we love. People come and go in our life every day. You're going to deal with people every day. And, you find that rhythm in your heart, what makes you happy. It's really that love and really can guide you through things, and different ways of doing it. For me, it was through the arts. The arts was my cultural connections. They're the tools of my life that I take when I feel things are getting heavy, but it's the energy that you allow into your life too. Remember, it's not like you just kind of have this switch that's turned on every day and you're just feeding this like unlimited energy. I mean, you're going to blow up, you're going to bloody break down. No, it's how you deal with that. It's how you can connect with that. It's almost like feng shui. It's almost like Tai Chi, it's almost like whatever, jujitsu, or different elements of that and that discipline, right? You're just having that discipline within your life, as I can use it as a metaphor. But light, so many beautiful things out there in the world. And we're so blessed to have so many different cultures and connections within our lives. And they're in the morning, you see the sun, or just walking out in the bush and the wind's blowing, you hear the birds singing. I mean, we're just in this amazing little planet, this little tiny dot in the middle of this vast universe, just sitting there. Culture is what really keeps me anchored, keeps me connected to country, to earth, Mother Earth. Life isn't perfect. I've been ups and downs, and that's just being honest. It's just human life. We all go through different things, but how you deal with that and how you experience it, and you learn through that. Like I said, if you've got a vision, there's something powerful in your life, there's a passion, you're never going to give up. And that's what I say to the listeners out there. If there's something in your life that you're really passionate about, don't give up. And you need to sometimes shut out that noise, because a lot of people aren't going to believe in it. What you believe in is the vision within yourself. It's something that you believe in. And that's what sort of how I in the world and negotiated and just taught me to survive out there. And through that global knowledge and through that global connections, it enabled me to, become successful. I'm not like multi, what I'm focusing on. I'm just focusing on the life and just enjoying that in family and community and culture and preserving that. And I have a bigger purpose within my life, the work that, and maybe I can share a little bit of that to the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you speak about your success and it not being about, being some multi-billionaire, but rather family, culture, your position in community as a respected elder, the wisdom that you share for community around you, and looking at success through your own lens of what success means, I think is a great example of the moral compass that you were speaking of as well. And what would you share with us about sort of business and that you're involved in?
Well, I think business is a big step in anyone's life. Like I didn't go into business. So anybody out there planning to go into business, just take it easy first before you go into it. Do your homework, get good advice, get a good lawyer, get good people around you to help you frame what you're trying to structure, what you're trying to, develop within your life. Because, I thought I knew everything. I thought, I'm going to do this and I know I'm going to do it. And, being younger and then growing older, I realized life doesn't work at all. It takes patience and perseverance, and things are not going to happen immediately. Like if, money, everyone's struggling at the moment within the world. There's economic situations here in Australia and globally, and, everyone sort of do their best. But with patience, and just yourself, and just being strong in that thought process, and just connecting. I can share for my success, and what I've done is just connect with really good people.
Mm.
Connect with people that really believe in what you're trying to do in your life. And those killjoys, they call it, the ones out there just trying to party, trying to destroy your life or your dream. You need to, even sometimes it could be even people close to you, sadly, people that you love, or community, or even family. Sometimes you need to disconnect from that to go on that journey, to really something in your life that you want to achieve. Um, so it's just getting those people around you believing in that. And basically, what I'm doing at the moment is, I've done some designing. It's been a big career. It's been an amazing career, and it's connected me with so many amazing, wonderful people. It's about you finding your tribe. Saying tribe as Wakka Wakka or Gurang or Piranjara or whatever, but you need to find the people that really believe in what you're trying to do, and they really want to go on that journey with you. And you can't do everything. You just got to get the right people around you to start sort of structuring things. And so I'm doing stuff around, which is a really important issue around a lot of stuff that's happening in Queensland at the moment, just across Australia, judicial system, particularly in youth justice.
Mm.
So we have a lot of issues with our kids, a lot of suicide. We've had a lot of funerals, our own families, lots and lots of funerals. It's sad, it's depressing, it's heavy stuff. And when you do that, and you pursue your own career or do other things, it can be very, very, a lot of energy, a lot of really heavy stuff. So it's about how you bat to get to continue your journey. And the work that I'm doing now is around that. But I've got a good sort of network around me of people who really understand how to structure things. And that's
Mhm.
what's going to take a lot of that weight off your shoulders, and a
Mm.
lot of that thought process and worries. That's a big worry, stress. These are disrupting our life, mental health.
Mm.
Always be aware of that. So this time, get good people around. We're looking at developing Indigenous, nations intervention development programs, but an actual physical location up here in Queensland. Some of the stuff that we're working on at the moment. Still very early, but like I said, get good people around you. Anything is possible. Never believe, don't, when people say, oh, that's impossible, they're not on the energy or thought process of you are, of where your mind is or where your heart is. They're not there yet.
Mm.
That's why it's so easy for them to say, oh, it's not going to happen. It's impossible. And that's why you believe in yourself. You believe in yourself and your vision and what's in your heart. It's going to happen. Just get around you, structure those things in the right way, and it's going to happen. I just explain it from my own personal experiences, but we got a bunch of things coming out for early next year, 2025.
Mhm.
We can maybe tune back in back then at that point. And
We might have
yeah,
to have back on then, Uncle, so you can give us an update on some of the
yeah,
stuff
for
that
that
you,
project.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
If people hear about the project and they're anticipating, they're excited, they want to stay in the loop, they want to be the first to know, and they might be feeling like they can't wait to 2025. Is there anywhere online where they can read a bit and get some insight into what you're
Well,
doing?
Well, it's been very confidential as such, but you can go to one of our websites. Actually, keep an eye with the Message Foundation, the
Mm.
Message Stick Foundation website. So they're going to be one of our partners. We're talking at the moment with the foundation that's founded by Michael McLeod, lovely brother there, very, very done very his career journey.
Mm.
He's one thing for Supply Nation.
Mhm.
Message Stick Foundation. So there's a few partnerships. We're talking with Adam Goods.
Yep.
So it's just the Go Foundations. It's really focusing on establishing these supports for a lot of our kids, preventing them going into the jail system, and then going through one of our projects where they're going to be surrounded by mentors and people who care and love them. And that's what our kids need. That's why a lot of our kids are just on the streets and getting up the mischief and doing that, because they haven't got anyone out there hugging them every day and telling them that they love them. They're coming from a situation that's happening at home. And that's why you see a lot of our kids. This is all over Australia. We see our kids there in the streets and getting up the mischief because there's no one there giving them that mentorship or supporting them, for a few hope, what I've hopefully something that's going to impact a lot of our First Nations kids in a positive way. And that most important things that I'm working on at the moment within my career. I've
Mm.
done all the arts and stuff, which is my, just a passion, but I've sort of evolved into these other things now, for more major impact comes for community and for our kids, and our kids are our future. We have different layers of that. It's very complex how things are happening at the moment with our kids in the jail system. We don't want the government's building more jails for our kids. We want to put them in the places where they're going to be safe and cared for and loved,
Yes.
and create something for the future. How can we have the next generation of kids that they'll be going through this trauma? So it's, we need to, as uncles, as aunties, as grandparents, as a community, work together and try to find a way to come up with a solution. The government's not going to do it.
Mm.
So, as the community, as the people, as the families need to do that. As a grandfather, that's one of my responsibilities. So, definitely soon to share some with your community, and the near future, there's going to be some exciting things, but maybe for now, tune into
Awesome.
Message Stick Foundation.
Awesome. And when you got Message Stick, keep your eye out for news about what Uncle John is up to, and we'll have you back on here when it's time to share more good news and give our listeners a deeper understanding about what this is all about. But I also love the integrity in what you're sharing, because we're speaking about finding a tribe and finding people that believe in what you believe in. And this project work that you're a part of and leading the way in is a great example, because you've collaborated with those people, like Adam Goods, Stick, and more, who were testament to the tribe you speak of and the journey that you're on. So yeah, love your integrity in doing what you speak of, Uncle.
Thank you so much.
We've reached this pinnacle, this moment, this great piece of the episode where we give listeners 3 useful, powerful tools and strategies based on what you've been speaking of, Uncle John, so that they can use these 3 pieces, 3 resources in their own negotiations. And we've been speaking about much more than just 3 points or 3 resources. So if you want all of what Uncle John's spoken about, listen to this episode again and again, because there's great wisdom in every word that's spoken. But to simplify, to keep it as 3 points. In fact, normally I'll speak these 3 points, Uncle, but I feel like I don't know, I feel energetically that it'd be great to hear from you, the 3 takeaway points. So can you give our listeners 3 takeaway points based on everything that you've shared today, but 3 concise points that they can employ and utilize as powerful resources in their own negotiations?
Yeah, thank you for that. I would harden your life, those negotiations. Kindness, I think, just having that kindness within your everyday negotiation, just being kind and respectful, showing a new approach. There's probably more than 3, but yeah, I think just really being conscious of your engagement, being conscious of yourself. Where is this a short-term thing? And that's where you need to take that time out with yourself. No advisors and nobody in the world, no consultants are going to give you that.
Yeah.
No matter how many consultants are there in the world. And at the end of the day, it comes back to you. What's in your heart, where you're heading, what the intention is, and what the outcome is.
Yes.
Only you can can understand that, but that drive us every day. And I think you will, and those who are out there listening, I think you'll understand. There'll be a myth in your life where it's like, oh yeah, I think Uncle John mentioned that it's happening. Or it can be a deep feeling, of within that negotiation. But just being true, being kind to your vision, and respect, integrity within that, and be about. Don't let anyone try to change your heart or your vision. If it's something that you believe in, you stick to it. If you're going to work, then with people are there, support people are to help you. Fine, but in the end of the day, that's your journey.
Uncle, I think that you've shared so much. I encourage you guys to all listen to this one again, 1 or 2 times from the start. That said, Uncle John, have you got any passing final words that you'd love to leave us with on this one?
Yeah, I just want to send out lots and lots of love out there to everybody. You've probably heard it before, but I'm sending it from up my way up here on country out to everyone out there listening. Just want to thank Matthew for having me on here for this discussion and just sharing my mind, my heart, my thoughts and spirit and journey of where I'm heading within my life and what's happening. And just wish everybody out there the very, very best. Don't give up, even when times you think are looking tough. Just keep going forward. Never give up is one of my mottos, and just send you lots of love that way. And yeah, stay in touch. Thank you so much, yo. Jujutna.
Beautiful. I love your heart, love your integrity. Thank you very much for being part of rolling through negotiations, Uncle John. Us.